Okay, hello everyone. So this summit is going to be around a journey around the world. So as I told you before, so the idea is to introduce yourself and tell us about what is food design, what is the context, and then we will go through 3 different questions, and then we can have a discussion, and we can have as well some questions and so on. So let's have the conversation. If you want, Jasper, could you start doing a small introduction about yourself, and then we can go with the next one, and then we start with the questions.
Okay, yes. So my name is Jasper. I'm an artist using food, and I have a background as a chef. So I combine those things all together to create events and experiences for people. And I hope to contribute arranging those experiences to a better world. So it's all about sustainability, etc.
Okay, Renzo, please.
Hi, I'm Renzo Vallejo from Lima, Peru. I'm a service and product designer and with a background in communication and involving a food design perspective in all the projects I can, which is something that I've been building up. But I'm really excited to share with such experience and awesome profile. So really good to be here.
Okay, thank you. Giovanni?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello everyone, my name is Giovanni. I'm from Bari, south of Italy, and I'm a food product designer. I'm a chef and a product designer. I just graduated from my master's degree in Milan, and I'm trying to combine my 2 passions related to food and product design, combining like creating new tools for food or something that is designed for food.
Okay, thank you. Cinzia?
Hi everyone. So my name is Cinzia Fontana and I'm a food designer, a lecturer, a mentor, a coach, a speaker, and I'm the founder of Amo Food Design. I specifically work around food design and sustainability pretty much to promote and develop a new strategic design solution about food. But I'm also a chemist and communication designer and product designer. So I tend to combine all my different areas and knowledges to work around the sustainability and food design. And as Jasper, I think we probably do pretty much the same thing. So we are trying to build, I think, a different world in terms of wealth and very good vision of what we can do in the world.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to introduce myself. So I'm Juanita Delvasto. I'm from Colombia, but I live in Cambodia. I'm a creative director and food designer as well. So as Cinzia as well, I had been working in communication and design, combining, one of my passion is working with food, but as well, in terms of work, I have the possibility to mix this. Now living in Cambodia, I'm living another perspective of food design in terms of communication as well. So let's start with the first question. So from your field of action, tell us about your experience working in food design. So Jasper?
Yeah, so I started my studio in 2015, and the idea was not to design food, but cook food that is able to design. So like the other way around. And while I was doing that, I found out that there's only one big important thing in everything around design and food, and that is the story you are trying to tell people. So that's for me the most important thing, and that's I think one of the coolest aspects of food. It can really put a story inside somebody. So normally when you see a story or you hear a story, that's very good, but when you also taste a story, that can be really impactful. So I think in my line of food design, I think that's one of the most important things, because when you put a story inside somebody, it becomes, he will gain ownership of the story. And I think we need a bigger collective story to go to a better future altogether, and not wasting time with talking about, okay, I'm a vegetarian, or I'm vegan, or I'm this, or I'm that. We have to go towards a bigger goal. So we need to have a common story. So I think the real power of food and food design, how I work, we are able to put stories inside people. And that's, I think, very fascinating. And using art, sound, etc. around the food experience enhances that. So that's for me an important aspect of food and food design.
Okay, great, thank you. Renzo, and for you?
Yes, well, I've been really interested in the role of food as a facilitator for connection, for communication. It's, well, beginning from my background, but I've started with involving in food design through content, and then making small experiments in through workshops. But in the last years, I've really found an impactful area involving a food design perspective in the design of services. For example, one of the latest projects that has a really important benefit is the design of a specialized diabetes center. And the role of food design was, how can we design artifacts that improve the way the doctor talks with the patient, the nutritionist, and they begin co-creating their own nutrition plan. And food design, it's not the food itself, but it's what will be the future eating of food. And the design of those experiences are something that I'm really interested right now.
Okay, thank you. Interesting. Giovanni?
Yes. As a chef and product designer, for years I've been trying to approach the topic of food from a pragmatic design perspective. And in order to combine my two great passions, my focus, as I said, is the design for food. So, which deals with the design of all those products that relate between food and the end user, understood as living being who use it. So it's not only the product is served in terms of alimentation, in terms of food that you can eat, the edible part, but it's like the all around elements that can allow the consumer of food itself. Relying on my studies in product design combined with my work experience in London in the restaurant field as a cook, waiter, and restaurant manager, I often wonder how the food system works and what is the role of food in its various contexts of use, such as domestic setting, restaurant, or everyday moments. So what I wonder and I try to investigate is mainly what are the many issues, discrepancies, and little respect for something that in some way is part of us and part of our daily lives. So I always wonder how we could change the approach and the perspective of food system. In a practical way, my personal and professional mission is to study some everyday context related to food consumption to improve the usability experience through the process of food design thinking, with the goal of designing better solution for the system and actors involved.
Okay, great. Cynthia, for you?
Here I am again. So my experience as a food designer started in 2005, and I was talking about food design, developing a project with an Italian hotel and a wine cellar, and it was, well, I would say probably like a pioneeristic project. It was a multimedia wine taster. But to be fair, at that time, food design was not even a real definition. It was, I don't think it was even a real word. It was just, an idea that it was fermenting in the area, in the design field. And it emerged some years later. So when I started, basically, there was no food design at all. We were talking about design in general. So I am glad that we had this definition, because the food design is an area where we have a lot of different now fields and specialization, which is really good. Um, but I remember it was very difficult at the time to, acknowledge design as part of the food area. So in 2005, 2006, it was difficult to work with chefs, works with, other people. They were working around food because the concept was not there. So we had to fight to find a way to express what design can do in the food field. And luckily now, I'm so happy that everyone is more open and very aware of the fact that design can literally help the paradigm of food as well. So we can work together. A lot of our different kind of experiences and field, like exactly like chefs and politicians, to be fair. So for designers, a lot of us to create something completely different. Um, for example, I am today now focused in working with brands to develop maybe their new identity in food design, but I also helping research and startups to develop new projects and new ideas in terms of food design. I am very, very passionate about sustainability, and I like the agricultural side of it. So there are a lot of different areas where we are working at the moment as a food designer, and I'm glad that we finally found the way to put everything together and work all together to go in a direction where make aware the community that we can do something better than what we're doing right now. So that's what that's my aim basically. So I tend to work with communities as well, to brand and with organizations to make people aware that we can do much better, and we can work around strategic design as well to create a new narrative of food design.
Okay, so nice. So for me as well, I started in advertising. I mean, like this passion. So I have the fortune to work with a supermarket in that moment. And then after that, I was thinking like I wanted to work more with food because it was a wide topic that connect people, that as well is interesting visually, that you can play with. So I started visually like this attraction, and as well, of course, the passion. But after that, I decide to, I have the first and be seeing all the possibilities, just applying my field, like all the experience that I had before, and explore doing more things, specializing myself in food design. But actually, when I explore more about food design is since I arrived here in Cambodia, I can work doing campaigns for behavior change. So you can see the impact of the change that you can produce in a community, as well as Cynthia was saying. So create strategies to improve how the people can be more sustainable, how they can eat in. Well, we have a project because the people, they didn't know where come from the different fruits and vegetables. So this kind of teaching, learning, and creating awareness is something that is going deep than the visual. That for me, it was more meaningful to be part of this community of food designers, because sometimes working in communication, I mean, is more like what the client wants and you have to deliver. But here is like how you can approach real problems, or and as well, you have to be part of everything. You have to do the research to see what is the context of the country and work with people from different fields. That for me, it was really interesting to have this experience, and learn more and be more aware of things that are happening around you. So for me, this is like that I have been working in food design. Okay, so if anyone has a comment, so feel free to say or to complement anything. So if you want, we can continue with the next one. Okay, guys. So what is the context in the region and how you?
Juanita, I couldn't hear you.
Okay, let me repeat. So what is the context in your region and how you are contributing?
Should I start? I will start. So I do a lot of projects, but in the early days of my work, I found out that I was preaching for their own community a lot, to scientists, other designers, etc. And after a few years, I was thinking, how can I get good stories out there to a broader audience? So currently, I'm working on a few projects, and on the base of those projects is my own collection of heirloom vegetables and fruits, etc. I have a big garden. It's called the Museum of Taste, and I work together with the University of Wageningen to grow old varieties. They have a seed bank, and there are about 25,000 old varieties, edible, and some of them are being grown and being put back in nature again. So this year, for instance, I served an old variety of beetroot, a carrot from 1893. So all really old things. And the idea behind it is not to only grow it, but also let it taste to a broad audience. So I have like a commercial thing. People come to my Museum of Taste summer lunches. So I had this weekend, I had 2 of those big lunches. So every day about 120 people come and join, sit down, and they will learn and eat old varieties. And tasting it, they will learn about how it works, how growing food works. And at the end of each summer lunch, I give the old seeds to the guests to take them with them, so they can grow those varieties also in their own garden if they have a garden. So that's like the basic thing. And using that story, I also do projects in schools. So I have a project called the Future Food City. It's like a utopian place where all the problems we have now have been solved. And I created a utopian vision, and I connect that story with schools and kids. and they will taste food from that utopian place and then help me to design that future place. So I plant seeds in kids who are the future, literally are the future, and they are not only busy with complaining about problems, but I give them stories to help them to get there in the future. So those are the main things I do at this point. And on the side, I do also a lot of fun stuff artistically connected with food. So that's also another thing. I think I'm not only showing my work in museums and galleries, etc., but also in schools, summer lunches, and the latest project is called the Kitchen Concert. So it's like a pop concert with a special food design menu, and a museum in one. So it's called the Kitchen Concert, and I created music with recipes for life, and so it's an all-together thing. So I can reach more people that could be interested in the stories I tell. So those are the things I'm working on.
I'll continue. In Peru, food design is really not that well known. I think it's in a really initial stage of maturity. And I mean, in Peru, we talk a lot about food. That definitely, we like to eat. There's a strong tradition of if anyone has the opportunity to go there, to come here someday, the first thing people are going to tell you is take you to eat something, and that's really strong. Yeah, it's a really strong cultural trait, but it's also really tied to traditions, and you can't change or experiment that with flavors or new things. And there's been experiments and things that the companies have tried, but they haven't been successful because of that. So I think that's one of the main things in food design in Peru, to first look back into those traditions and look also to the future and find that middle point, for several things, starting with the impact of technology. There's a lot of opportunities in the local ecosystem to improve. For example, the value chain from the field to the market, it's really unjust, let's say. So technology and design can have a really strong impact in those type of areas, at least in Peru. Redesigning systems, redesigning how to connect different stakeholders, and having this perspective of social impact, and the power of how can, if we design in a conscious way something, it could benefit all people that are involved. So that's some of the context on locally. There's been connecting this with the technology part. It might seem something trivial, but tools or tools like social media, like TikTok, they've changed the dynamics of how people find food and eat. Now you can see street vendors that have become really famous, and they only say fried chicken or something, and there are lines, big lines of people waiting that normally they wouldn't be able to access that because of money for advertising or anything else. But now, thanks to those tools, they can compete and evolve and get better. So I think there's that particular point, how to use technology and help different types of companies and individuals to use technology and design in a conscious way to evolve, to have a better impact in the current ecosystem. And connecting that with how I would like to contribute, I don't think I'm contributing enough yet, which is I'm starting create a local movement of a community to talk about these topics and connect with academia and in a first stage, but also connect with day-to-day people to make this concept of food design more known, starting from the concept itself. In English, we have to translate that. What does that mean in Spanish? Or what is food design in Spanish? So there's a lot of things from those basic things to start doing here in Peru.
Okay, but it's starting, so that is a good beginning.
Yeah.
We have the same issue because when we translate for design in Spanish or in Italian, of course we can say for design as well because it's the international terms. But when you translate it, it sounds different.
Yeah.
And it involves, for example, in Italian, Giovanni, maybe because you're Italian as well, I don't know if it's your perception as well, but in Italian, if you say for design and you translate it in disegnare o progettare il cibo, that involves a lot of different things. So the area would be bigger than what we think in English, or food design seems very precise. It's like a little sting, but in Italian, for example, it's a huge area. I mean, it's a huge area in English as well. But I think it becomes different because it acknowledges a lot of other areas that we have, and probably because Spain and Italy or Mediterranean area are more, I would say, confident with the food because we know a lot about food. And I don't know, it's my idea, and probably Renzo, you have the same issue when you try to translate and put the same concept in your route and try to find the way to acknowledge other people with this.
Exactly. Same issue.
I can confirm what Cinzia was saying because my current context of analysis is mainly Italy, and I think that this can be a great thing from one side, and a great problem from on the other side, probably for these things. As a country that is culturally rich in terms of gastronomy, there is a lot that can be analyzed and improved. Unfortunately, on the other side, we are often, probably in my opinion, too tied to traditions, and not all contexts are very open to new points of view. And sorry, from the design point of view, what I'm trying to do, because I'm very young in this world, but young as a designer, I try to absorb the value of the context or the city in which I am to carry out studies and investigation. So, for example, 3 years ago, I did my bachelor degree, my bachelor thesis in Bari, with a project to improve street food in south of Italy, developing a new portable kitchen to make safer the act of cooking fried food for both vendor and final users. For example, I just have many projects, many concepts, but not for now. I don't have a real product. But for example, during my studies in Milan for my master degrees, I did a project to innovate the city temporary market system to improve the life of food and vendors, developing a new product service system based on a set of elements aimed to improve the food handling, the reduce food waste, specifically for fruit and vegetables, and improve the life of vendors during the temporary market. The last example, in addition, I use my experience as an off-campus student to develop a board game to cook in a group with the aim to redefine the culture and values of cooking in group, and to recall also the moment of sharing and conviviality through and with the practices of food. Currently, I'm in Bari again, and I'm trying to start like a personal activity, and I'm also working as a restaurant consultant, trying to create new tools or eating experience to basically enhance the identity of the restaurant itself and provide a better and complete food experience to respect the whole process of the restaurant that include cooks, the waiter, and customers, but of course the food itself.
Okay. Cynthia?
So well, as I was saying, food design has many different ramifications and definition as well. So it's very hard for me to put everything together, to be fair. But let's say that the contest, for example, in my region, what I really see in the UK is more related to the creativity that is related to the brand. So most of the time is more like a brand kind of intervention that you can be asked to work with. So I develop with some companies new brands, and that of course involve as well advising on the restaurant, advising on the product, advising on how they want to sell the product on the market, and how they want positioning themselves on the market as well. So that's the part of the brand area of design. But there is also a lot of other different area that you can work in UK, because there are plenty of organizations here where sustainability and food in general are very relevant topics. So I collaborate with them, with some of them here in the region, and I help to spread awareness and create projects to develop a different approach for waste, which is something really important for me. So food waste is a topic that I think we need to tackle sooner or later, because we have a huge issue here, and people don't all recognize that. And what I do is also having talks and teaching about food waste and the relationship with food, and I tend to do with the next generation, as Jasper is doing, which I think is the best way to create a new future, because of course we have to think about what we can achieve in the future, and of course we can work in the scientific work, which is something that I do as well, because I help startups to develop new projects, especially related to agricultural or different kind of approach to new products in food. But at the same time, I think we need to change the perception that we have of the food. And that's the main goal for me. So, what I'm trying to do is changing the perception that people have in terms of food through the senses, of course, and experiences that goes through the senses, which is part of my job as well. So, I create experiences to, discover the food in a different way, but also we needed to talk about uh, how food is really important for human, and how we can manage to make a food that is a food that is respectful in terms of nature, food, and us as a human. So we need to talk about a huge sphere in terms of changing the way that we are doing the food in the future. And this is what I'm trying to do regionally, and with Italy and Spain, and here in UK. So it's more about building a new way to perceive and think about food. well, I can also say that I'm mentor, a speaker, but same thing. So I'm trying to build this inside of different areas. So teaching, creating experiences, helping businesses, and communication as well, because communication, of course, is very important. So we have to think about how we can communicate this to the people. They want to listen and maybe improve the new way to think about food and what we can improve in the food as well. So food system is another important area where I think we need to start to intervene very soon. That's my big idea.
That is great. Okay, so for me, I'm talking about my experience here in Cambodia. So is what I have lived here and I have seen. So mainly it's a country that it has everything to do, like you have the opportunity to grow, and it's like because of the history that they have. So they are starting in many ways. So this project that I was telling you before, so it was to promote more the consumption of veggies and fruits. And we faced with a big problem because it was not just only to make a campaign to make the people buy locally and eat local products. The people, they didn't know what it was, a product from Cambodia. So it was one issue. Second issue, the farmers, they were receiving pesticides from Thailand and Vietnam, and they didn't know how to read. So we started not with solving or delivering the message. We started, it was receiving many problems. For example, the other one is like they have two seasons. They have rainy season and dry season. So the farmers, they don't have guarantees for that. So sometimes they prefer to come to the city and work in another stuff. The farmers they harvest and they don't have how to bring it to the city. So we face different problems. So in this case, so what we did, it was like create connections with governments, with companies, with entrepreneurs, with people that, with the supermarkets, the restaurants and retail, so to support this. So what we create, it was a movement. We create a digital movement actually, because in that moment it was a COVID time. So it was really difficult as well to try to implement and to have a market in that moment, that it was the big idea. So because anyway, I hear the people is really patriotic and they feel really proud about their products as well. Like in Italy with the products, I think in Europe in general, you feel like this. So we needed to do something like that, but it was so difficult to do it. So we create a movement online in Facebook. Facebook here is one of the social media most important. It's like Google, so if you want to check something, they put everything in Google. And we create a movement, and we were able to create a support for farmers, for suppliers, for people, for consumers. So here, it was a surprise, because it was not like, okay, we create a strategic and we deliver a campaign. So mainly we educate the community, and now so they are changing the behavior and they are trying to improve slowly, because it's not just that they are not consuming as well. If they don't sell it, they have a waste of food. So slowly we have to attack different kind of points that we have, but it's something really interesting, because it's like many ways to work and support. So this is like what I'm facing now, and how I'm working is more like not only designing a good campaign, like visually beautiful. No, it's more how you can trigger the people to change behaviors. Okay, let's continue to the last one. So in terms of design and innovation, what are the opportunities for the future?
That's a big question. So there are a lot of opportunities, I think. As I was telling, I think the main focus has to be on how to create a big collective story towards a better future. So every single thing has to get aligned. And one of the interesting things nowadays is maybe artificial intelligence. It's a scary thing, but it's also a good thing, because I think it's capable of designing a more a democratic end product, if you know what I mean. I think that's a really interesting thing. So, for instance, if you put the vision of one person about future food together with another vision, use AI to combine it, what comes out? I think I'm interested in that, in those things, and I'm also interested in the ways, the old styles of how we as a human being are connected with nature, and the new technology things like vertical farming, etc. How we can create like a good way to be in harmony with Mother Nature, but also can provide enough food for you as human beings. I think that there are possibilities to do it. I think that's a thing that's really interesting to look at as us as designers, but also again talk about those ideas, and not only talk us about it, but talk about those things with as much people as possible. So in schools, to your neighbors, everybody has to have this kind of idea. Okay, we have to be more respectful to nature, but we can also use new technology to get a better system working. So I think it's a really big thing you were asking me, but I think the main thing is try to get that collective vision. But yeah, as one person, it's really hard. So
Yeah.
you have to do it together. But I think technology can help us with that.
I totally agree with what Jasper has just told us about this vision of how we would like the world to be, and at least locally, it might not sound that innovative, but one of the things that needs to be done is just get people talking about this, about food, about because I don't know if that happens in your countries, but in Peru, getting or setting aside high-end restaurants or new fast food concepts, the day-to-day food has stayed practically the same in the last 50 years. We eat the same things we've been eating in households, in day-to-day houses. I mean, and those products started in the beginning as a creative process that used things that were that made sense in that time. For example, I don't know, anticucho, which is like this. How do you say it? It's like a skewer made of cow's heart, and it's something that wasn't being used. So they created this dish that sells in the streets, and it's really good. But that type of innovation has stayed like flat. We eat everything that sometimes it was a creative process that was sustainable and that was connected with tradition, and that needs a new spark. But that needs also people to cut a little bit of, or get away, or not get away, but how do you say, to be more open for new things. So that's a challenge, and one of the first things talking about food, making spaces to feel people they can talk about food. For example, in one of the service prototypes we made in this project about diabetes center was to create micro communities between patients and that has diabetes with specialists as well, and allow them to talk about food in a way they couldn't do in the day-to-day way. For example, even small things like people with their tags and right there the food that you like the most, and people with diabetes that in that context that they felt they couldn't talk about what they really liked. They got into this event and they put I like to eat my pollo al brazo, which is like this chicken with fries, and but they felt safe to talk about what they really liked, and talked about food, and then asking the specialist, and then a discussion started emerging from that context. So what that experiment made me learn is the power of community, of having people to talk about a thing that maybe you didn't know it interested you, but once you're there, you begin to talk a little more, and they began exchanging phone numbers and all the things that are a product of connection. So talking about the future and innovation, I think one of it's going to the basic part of first having, just like Jasper said, okay, a shared vision, but then having the spaces to talk about that vision, and then we can see what we can do to get to that. But first, having everyone interested in that.
Thank you.
I completely agree with Jasper and Renzo, especially because talking about food is something that is, I think, is part of our DNA, and so our development, our organism. So somehow it will always be part of us. However, I have somewhat different idea of innovation, perhaps that then the current trend focus on technology and the digitalization of everything. Because to me, innovation can be improving something that already exists, or at least starting understanding the real current problems to do something better. So, for example, as Cinzia was saying before, so even the perception, improving that type of perception can be a starting point to do something better. So I think that rethinking everyday system can be the key, or at least the starting point to improve everyone ordinary lives. Innovation can involve something as, for example, as a fork to taste better, or a chair to eat more comfortably, but also things that, for example, are designing an industrial food system or canned food. So technology and digitalization is the base and can be very important to support the innovation in some way. But at the same time, in my opinion, in the food context above all, it remains important that to keep focus on the fact that food is something tangible and concrete. So for me, it's important to think of food production and consumption as a real and tangible experience in which different real actors are involved. Thinking about food as animal or plant derivation, but also thinking about real people such as the farmer or the factory machinist, and of course the end consumer sitting at the table. So to me, or at least to improve, to innovate, or at least to improve future context, it's important to design according the logic of human-centered design by considering psychological aspect of the actors involved, and to create a system that can be more sustainable and more functionable from multiple point of view. And of course, for all the actors involved, support, of course, again, by the new technologies.
I don't have a lot to add to this because Giovanni said pretty much everything I was going to say. And Jasper started with everything I was going to say about sustainability. And Renzo, of course, was talking about what you can do in terms of, developing the concepts to awake your community and make them, the information available to them. So you covered pretty much everything I was going to say. So I don't know what to add to this. I just want to say that I think we started 20 years ago with a different kind of scenario, and it's really interesting for me seeing what changed in these 20 years, which is something that helped me to understand what we can do in another 20 years. So, because we started 20 years ago, where sustainability was, for example, a word that didn't have any real meaning. So people were just saying sustainability, but they didn't know what the meaning was. And I was doing research and development at that time for Unilever. And I remember I developed a couple of patents with them where we were improving sustainability. And I was spreading around this because I thought it was very important, but nobody understood what we were doing because nobody understood the word of sustainability. So I am so happy to see today that we are all talking about sustainability and the strategic design that there is on the route of a verge to go to another direction, which I agree with Giovanni, it should be a direction based on human, planet, animal, nature centered. So we should think about as a planet, as a sphere where we can connect every dot and put a new system and a new strategic way to think about design and food design that goes toward that direction. And that, of course, it goes through sustainability, goes through new food system, sorry, new strategic design in the actual organization and politics to change everything we can change to make this happen, because we needed the help of big companies as well and a big organization to make sure they will understand what we are doing in a local area at the moment and improve this in a large scale. So as everything happen, when you start with a little thing and a little dot, and of course this dot will become bigger and bigger and bigger, and you just feel that somehow this will become something that is very relevant, and then this will be bring from some big company or something like that. So I've seen what happened 20 years ago when nobody was talking about this, and we are here now talking about all of these beautiful things, and it seems like it's possible. So for me, innovation means possibility. And the possibility is that we are able now to create something really good for the future in terms of food design and design in general, of course. And yeah, that's the only thing I can add, because for the rest, I agree with you guys completely.
Yeah, from my side is mainly the same. I could say that from my experience living in this country, so in terms of technology, it will be really helpful, I mean, for the farmers to don't face difficult, work, and to be more stable as well. So to have more balance and equal, with better rights as well. So, but as well, I think, for example, new generations here, especially, they are a good mindset and a good influencers as well for the in terms of spreading messages in a good way, of course. And of course, the creation of a community, I think, is what is going to make the change here. So here is not like this innovation. Probably we are a step back compared with even with the South America. I mean, we are so far. So because here is everything is starting, but the possibilities like we can do a big jump to don't have the same mistakes that others have done. So it's good because we have many examples. So we can improve, and we can. The thing is, like as everyone has said, is the community is really important and is going to create the impact. So I think is what is going to make the change the most. Okay, guys, thank you very much. Please I will tell Antonio. He wants to say something. Antonio?
Hola a todos.
Hola.
Hola, Antonio.
Hello.
Hola.
Cinzia, Jasper, Renzo, Giovanni, ahora estás aquí en Madrid, que muchísimas gracias por estar aquí. Y un fuerte abrazo a todos por participar en esta edición del festival. Bye.
Muchas gracias. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's keep in touch, eh?
Bye.
Thank you.